After this weekend's dominant win over CSU, Washington State sits at a perfect 3-0 on the season. And yes, that includes a win over then 19th ranked Wisconsin on the road. Yet the Cougs still sit outside the AP Top 25 poll. But Coach Dickert, he doesn't pay any mind to that.
For me personally, it's full disclosure, I don't even know why they rank anybody until week 5. Until you get into your conference play and you really know who everybody is. And I'll leave that for everybody else to talk about. We just got to do what we need to do. There's 2 rankings that I want to be ranked at, okay? The one going into the final week and at the end of the season.
Dicker is and always will be a 1 week at a time type of guy, and that's the approach his team will need this week, welcoming a 15th ranked Oregon Ducks team into Pullman.
And this is a great opponent coming in here this weekend. And I think Oregon has a rich history of playing well, but we also have a rich history of playing them really well. So it's going to be a competitive game that I think our guys understand the moment, they understand the challenge. Now it's going to be in our preparation of what each person needs to do to make sure that we're at peak position on Saturday.
With the Ducks coming to town, it marks the beginning of Pac-12 play. For the first-year head coach, his team is right where he wants them at this point in the season.
I think in a great place. We're confident in what we need to do. I think a lot about your team after 3 weeks, and we've been challenged. So I think they should be confident.
Kickoff for Washington State's home game against Oregon is set for 1 p.m. As always, we'll have full coverage of that game for you.
Coach, first things first, just kind of looking back at the game tape yesterday and today, what's kind of maybe stood out, maybe a player or two that has kind of jumped off the film?
I think the biggest thing is when you really watched it, a little echo over there, sorry, it's okay. When you really watched it, I thought Cam, probably navigated some traffic better than I thought he did and kept us alive in some plays and some moments that kind of made some good things, keeping things down the field, and he made some plays with his feet, right? Just that escapability, not runability, but escapability that I think he's brought to our offense. And I thought him and the receivers were just a little bit more on sync, off script. And I think that's when quarterbacks go from good to great, is when you have the ability to play some things off script. Things out there, and it starts with taking care of the football, right? And that's something that we've harped on a ton over the last few weeks in the fall camp, and we didn't do a better job of that, because we're doing a good job of taking it away, but we're still breaking even in that turnover margin category. And, I think defensively they continue to play really, really hard. And, we're rotating a lot of guys in there. We're getting a lot of production from a lot of people, and it's really good to see. And, just our offense jumping out the gate like that and scoring 4 straight possessions was huge for this team and huge for some momentum. And they've got to see this morning some places where they can improve.
Notice there's a handful of guys in the second half, especially on offense. Lincoln, Nakia, didn't maybe take a ton of snaps. Was that just trying to get some other guys some rotation to kind of keep them fresh for this week?
I mean, we're doing what we did in the moment to win that football game. And, we want to see Jalen out there. I want to see what he's capable of doing, because I think in some of those situations we get Jalen in space. I mean, he's really hard to tackle, and he can hit a home run. So it wasn't just as much them as some guys that we wanted to see. Robbie was back, and we wanted to get him to his threshold too, and it just adds to competition, and it keeps guys hungry and ready to go. So I wouldn't read too much into it other than, we put the guys out there that we feel like we wanted to get looks at in certain situations.
Update on Renard, Jay Lee, and Travion for this week?
My training meetings after this. It's unfortunate for you guys, but we'll have those updates as we go throughout the week.
Just on Oregon, what you know about them so far in film, what do they kind of pride themselves on this year?
Well, I wouldn't judge Oregon on the Georgia game. Georgia's on another planet. Okay, they just are when you watch that team play, and they've improved each and every week. I thought they had a great bounce back week 2. I mean, to score 70 points, I don't care who you're playing, and I have a lot of respect for Eastern Washington. And then to have BYU come in there, who is a big physical football team that we got to see firsthand last year, it's impressive. They're big at the line of scrimmage, they're physical, they're long, they're tough, and then they surround it with a bunch of speed on the perimeter, right? They added the quarterback, who has tons of game volume, and I think he does a really good job, and he's a great athlete. So similar scheme offensively to us, a lot of formations and movements. You go back throughout the coordinator's history, even at Florida State, they do a lot of different things, and they've been known for defense really, since I've been here the last 3 years, and the personnel matches the style that they want to play. So impressive football team, and it'll be a tremendous challenge that we got to get ready for this week.
The O-line hasn't given up a sack this year over there. Are they taking advantage of a lot of quick game stuff, or is that just playing just good protection, giving him time?
Both. I mean, I swear when I watched the film last night and this morning, like some of these offensive linemen I've seen the last 3 years, and these guys hasn't graduated. So they've played a lot of games. They've actually had a lot of different pieces in and out of the lineup through 3 games up front. But, yeah, a lot of short, intermediate quicks when they plan to take their shots down the field. They get a lot of max protection. So it's getting the ball out of his hands, but it's also a quarterback that's confident in the scheme and knows where he wants to go, and they're giving him some clean reads, and he's getting the ball out and letting their playmakers make plays in space. So definitely a combination, but even a stat I didn't know. But, they've been keeping him clean, and I think it's a combination of how good they are and what they're trying to do offensively.
Down, obviously, off to, starring earlier this season. I don't know if you saw it. Top graded linebacker in the country right now, PFF, Pac-12 Player of the Week, Reese's Player of the Week. What's he shown you on film, and is just the kind of dynamic playing style so far?
Well, I think he showed maturity, and I think that's an important piece of it as he continues his growth of playing the position. And that was our biggest sell when we brought him here. It's like, Dayon, come here and do the same things you did last year, so you're not restarting, so you can grow with the same person that you've done it with. So I've seen a lot of maturity, but there's a lot of playmaking, but he's playing more linebacker. Okay, you watch his tape at Nevada when we first watched it, he's just playing old school football, tackle the ball. Okay, now you're seeing him play linebacker with technique, his hands, his blitzing ability is off the charts. And when you continue to find ways to get him on one-on-one matchups, right? Because I feel whether it's an offensive lineman, tight end, tailback, I mean, he one-on-one, he's hard to take care of. So I think defensively he's done a good job of putting him in positive situations, but he put in the work. I mean, he's gained 25 pounds since he's been here, and his speed and athleticism is matching what we all thought he could be.
So the time of possession, Coach, I know you run an up-tempo offense, but against Idaho it was 36-24, Wisconsin was 38-22, and Colorado State was 33-27. Is there more of a focus on time of possession going against Oregon or going against conference teams?
We're going to play a certain style, and I know that's weird coming from a defensive guy, right? I know that's what everyone pegs me as, but, I like the tempo that I saw on Saturday. We need it. We need to get explosive plays and get rolling and get people off script and schedule and making them play fast. So I'm comfortable with that. It's not the tempo that's the time of possession issue. It's the, quick series we've had. We've had a number of 3-and-outs, okay? Or, time of possession is what it is. Defensively against Wisconsin, we couldn't get off the field, right? They converted 3rd and 17, 3rd and 14. So stats, especially 3 games in, are stats. That's why I don't look a ton into it. But there's a lot of reasons that those things are happening, not just because we want to play with a little bit more pace.
And the offense looked a little bit worse in the second half against Colorado State. Was that taking your foot off the gas a little bit, or was there a specific issue?
No, I mean, I don't believe in taking foot off the gas. And, there's a maturity level to it, and there's a standard that we want to play. And we didn't necessarily meet that standard in the second half, okay? So I think as a team, and I'm not just going to point out the offense, as a team, I think we've learned a lot from what we need to do to play a 60-minute football game, right? And that's every man's job, but it's also the urgency of what you need to do play in and play out. And, so we didn't finish in the red zone in the second half. That was big. We had 2, turnovers ourselves, or one at the end of the first half and one in the second half. So, those are things that we need to clean up, and that's what we addressed this morning.
And Oregon ranked 15th today, and Bo Nix is their quarterback, obviously. Like that. How can you stop Bo Nix, and what do you see on the film?
What popped for me with their quarterback is athleticism, and it isn't that they have schemes that he runs, but he keeps the play alive, and then he runs very effectively, and he's a red zone threat. I think he had 3 rushing touchdowns last week that were really, really big for that team, and but the experience, you can't replicate it. So they did a good job in the portal, upgrading that position, and he really has command of their offense, and I think he's got the full keys to the car, and, you don't see them trying to handicap an ability. He's out there throwing deep balls, short balls, intermediate balls. So I see a quality football player that's really helped their football team.
Oregon's student section made national news this past week for some unfortunate reasons. What can Zoo Crew do to, whether conduct or in general, to support your football team and the values of your football team?
Well, I think it's a good question. First off, I mean, what happened at the Oregon Stadium is not okay. And then we got a lot of guys of Mormon faith in our football team, as does Coach Lanning, and I know he's probably disappointed in that. And, we support and we don't, we make sure that guys understand that they're going to be supported and protected here, and we're going to take care of them. So I think that's important, and I advise all of our fans, come, compete, be loud, be appropriate, right? And I think our fan base, since I've been here, has always been that way. They've been completely supportive, and, like I said, I saw on Saturday when they were in the red zone, they went from false start to a missed snap, big negative play because of how loud our student section was. So I'm excited for them to come out and be positive and have a difference in this football game, because I know this is going to be a ruckus environment. It's going to be a packed house. I just heard there's just about 1,000 tickets left, and we want those filled with crimson and gray. And we're excited about what our people are going to come out and the energy that they're going to provide this stadium. And I couldn't be more happier with the response of Coug Nation and what our fans are going to bring to this football game.
And Jaden Hicks really had an awesome game on Saturday. What are your expectations and plans for him going forward?
Well, I think Jaden has always had a high ceiling, and it's fun because I've gotten a chance to see it the last couple of years. And so for those guys to do that for Jaden to do that, I think is really, really important, and it grows his confidence, right? He's been in about 30 to 40 plays each of the first couple of games. To play 70 plays and to show what he can do over the course of that time, I thought was great. So really important for his success, his maturity, and his mindset as he really goes into the next phase of the game. And I think sky's the limit for Jaden. I think we felt that really the last couple of years.
And Dan Henley, in addition to playing at an extremely high level, also speaks really well with the media. How does his voice translate to the locker room, and how does he show leadership to his teammates?
Well, I think getting to know Dayon, part of his deal, he loves to have fun. Football, he doesn't work football, he plays football. And football is fun to him, and it should be to a lot of our guys, because you invest so much of yourself into it that, why not enjoy yourself when you're out there? And I think, you get little glimpses of who these guys really are. Right, and that's not a show for Dayon, right? That's who he really is. He's fun, he's energetic, and he likes to be a little bit playful. But when it's time to work, Dayon works, right? And I think that's an important distinction, for people to understand that he's not like that on the field. He's focused on what he needs to do to be his best. So it's part of Dayon. It's fun for everybody to see a little bit of that. But like I said, he's been as advertised, and I'm excited about how he's maturing too, and his leadership ability and how he handled last week. There was a lot of emotions in that game for him, and he went out there and played well and represented him and his family to a high degree.
Coach, the latest AP Top 25 came out yesterday. You guys receiving votes, close to cracking, but not making it. Is that something that you guys in the locker room, you kind of pay attention to, or not at all?
Well, I think the biggest thing for me personally, it's full disclosure, I don't even know why they rank anybody until week 5. Until you get into your conference play and you really know who everybody is. And I'll leave that for everybody else to talk about. We control what we can control. I didn't talk about it this morning meeting. I won't talk about it at this afternoon's meeting. We just got to do what we need to do. There's 2 rankings that I want to be ranked at, okay? The one going into the final week and at the end of the season. Everything else is just let it all play out. There's a lot of games to be played. It's all sorts of things, But I know I stand by our schedule and how we've played and where we're at sitting right now. And, there's potential to play 5 ranked Pac-12 teams as we go throughout the season. So it can be a daunting task if you look at it that way, but we're looking at it one at a time. And, if we stack a bunch of 1-0s, we'll get the results we want. We're not worried about that.
Obviously, you talked about it a little bit, but heading into Pac-12 play here, just how do you feel about where the team's at right now, about to begin conference play?
I think in a great place. Like I said, they've worked their tails off to get here, and they've earned it. And, we're confident in what we need to do. I think a lot about your team after 3 weeks, and we've been challenged. So I think they should be confident. And they're confident in each other, and I think they're buying into what we really want them to do. So it's a process, and this is a great opponent coming in here this weekend. And I think Oregon has a rich history of playing well, but we also have a rich history of playing them really well. So it's going to be a competitive game that I think our guys understand the moment. They understand the challenge. Now it's going to be in our preparation of what each person needs to do to make sure that we're at peak position on Saturday.
Got to ask just your thoughts on Jalen Watson, 99-yard pick 6 last Thursday. I'm sure that one made you happy.
No, it made me completely happy. I'm so proud of Jalen, and as all the NFL scouts would come around, I would say, like I said, he's an unpolished diamond. It's in there, right? Keep polishing, keep working, take a chance on him. And I was just happy because I texted him how proud I was of him. And, he's handling it the right way, and he's going to get a lot more opportunities, and just really proud of the way he's played.
Shaw Smith-Wade right now is the top graded corner in Pac-12.
Are you grading all these guys, Colton? Is that where you're getting all these
PFF
grades
stuff,
from?
they're apparently experts. And so I guess a lot of talk about the defensive front, obviously.
Yeah.
But how would you assess just how the secondary's played these first 3 weeks?
Well, let's start with Shaw. I mean, Shaw has really matured from last year, and he's been very consistent, right? You've always seen some highs and you've seen some lows. Now we've been able to see a ton of highs, and people have challenged him down the field. And sometimes those ratings come from playmaking, and he's had opportunities to go make some plays, and he's done that. And tackling at a high, consistent level and playing bigger than what he's listed at. Okay, and I'm not sure what he listed at. I know his actual height, right? So he's playing bigger than that. And, we kind of always knew the structure of the defense. Obviously, D-line know where we're at. We felt great at linebacker. We feel really solid about where we can be at with D-Lang and Shaw and Cam and Chris. And then it was just those interior guys, right? So Armani's a staple. And if we get the safety playing at a high level, we felt like we could take another step forward. So far they've did it. Last week's test was high to control the explosive play, and I think we've done a good job of even containing runs and any breakout runs. So as a whole, defense, top to bottom, I think they've been playing well together and complementary football.
There's a big group of Coug fans right now that are trying to come up with a nickname for your guys' defense just based on its identity and playing style and everything. How would you, sort of sum up the identity of this team, maybe, give them some help on trying to figure out a nickname?
I'm not a nickname guy. I don't know if I'm very creative. I'm a big fan that nicknames come from after the season, right? So let's get to that point, and then we'll start worrying about what we want to name these guys. But, just like I said, there's a style and a way that they play that I think you see it and you feel it when you're out there, right? So it isn't me talking about it. I think when you come watch them play, that I think it's something that everyone feels. And even better when you see them on the practice field, there's a camaraderie and a connection that I think that's hard to put into words. So excited about their start, and they'll need to continue to play this way if we want to be successful as a team.
Heading in to play coach Dan Lanning, who obviously was a defensive coordinator of Georgia, the historically great defense last year. What do you expect to see from him and his game plan defensively?
Well, I think he does a good job of mixing up a lot of looks. I mean, they've been 3 down, they've been 4 down. Their coverage and disguises, I think are really, really good. And, they're just doing things at a high level, and they're doing it with, elite talent and elite speed. So, Coach Lanning, I have a lot of respect for him and what he's done throughout his career. And, he's won, the national championship at this level is incredible. So their defense will be ready. It's still really the staple of their team, and, it's physical. It's really physical. So I think he'll be ready for the challenge of what we present him, and, excited to kind of compete in that chess match game that we'll go through on Saturday.
We have much more sports content available for you to watch right now on Crim 2+. To find it, just navigate to the Sports tab at the top of your screen. I'm Travis Green. Thanks for watching.